because a product is useless or a product is not getting any impact, users cannot use it, or if it doesn't get to the user. Like if your product stays on the drawing board or just stays like in the good Google Docs somewhere like that, it's not it's basically useless because nobody's using it. You haven't shipped it out. And so that's where you then coordinating on the data. That's where you get into where if you hear things like delivery, working with engineers, working with the designers, trying to think about the solution once you've understood what the problem is. And then the third major job as a product manager, what you'll be doing as a product manager is then coordinating the people who are building the product. Like top skills you need to have as a product manager is communication, because your job is you're tying everybody together, you're tying different departments together. Something I used to think about as a product manager is like whenever if you're working with the technology team, like designers design, that's the output of a designer. They will give them something to produce a mock-up or a design for you to run with. Engineers code, that's what they do. Engineers build. So what do you then do as a product manager? Well, you manage the product. You don't manage the people, but you manage the delivery of the product. And a lot of that management really is in communication, because a one superpower that you should have as a product manager is being able to influence without authority, because you need to be managing people, marshalling resources, trying to coordinate a lot of like conversations to make sure that when you're shipping the product, everybody is aligned. So, and it's a lot of work. It's no mean feat. Quite rewarding, but it is a lot of work. I put something funny on my next slide in terms of what a product manager really does. I don't know if any of you ever watched Office Space. This show was way before my time, but I understand the meme here. If you've ever seen this meme before, I feel like a lot of what I need to do as a product manager is dealing with people, and sometimes it can get frustrating. Like, product management is a people job. Like you get to interact with people. You cannot be a successful product manager if you don't interact with people, because you've been interacting with your users to understand what users trying to get out of the product. You've been interacting with your stakeholders because you need to understand, like from the business perspective, what business revenue, what business goals, what business agenda you're trying to achieve from the product. You'll be communicating with your engineers because you're trying to understand and you're trying to you're trying to communicate what engineers need to build and direct them from what business is trying to solve. You'll be communicating with your designers. In fact, even be communicating with your analysts, because when your product doesn't, the reason why product management is different from project management is that your product does not end once you ship it. Once you start the product, you need to understand how the product is doing in the market. You need to understand, right, are users using this product? Is it growing? Is it declining? Is there a not using? Like, it doesn't just end. It's not just a project that you finish and then you leave it going. You need to understand and improve that, and you take learnings you have in the market and bring it back to the product and improve it all over again. That's speaking with people. So there's a lot of interacting with people. There's a lot of managing relationships with people and dealing with people that is involved in the job. And so people management, like communication, people management skills are some of the key skills that you need to have as a product manager. I have a slide that talks about skill, which I'm going to jump to next, just kind of highlight what kind of skills you need as a product manager. This diagram, which I found quite helpful, tries to show, so you're thinking about product management. It tries to highlight like what skills you need to concentrate on, but at different levels. The 4 levels that are represented here is from like an individual contributor level, which is really the product manager role and the senior manager role, and then the people manager level, which is really talking about like director level to VP level or like CPO level. You might not see an associate product manager role, but that product manager role is just as important, which is the entry level into product management. I didn't find a diagram that captures that, but as an associate product manager, you're really doing the product manager does, but on a smaller scale for a smaller product, etc. I'm not going to go through like a lot of the fine bullet points, but what I want you to pay attention to in terms of the main things that different roles and different skill level are responsible for is like if you're a PM or associate PM or PM, you're mostly responsible for shipping product. That's like the like that's the main thing you be judged on. Like how fast can you deliver stuff out of the from like releases and all of that. The higher you go, the more strategic you become. So at the senior level, you're more challenged to be thinking about long-term roadmaps, thinking about planning. And again, not like you won't do this either as a mid-level PM, but the skill definitely increases at that level. If you're going to like director and VP level, that's where your ability to influence becomes more and more important, and becoming and getting to getting buying across multiple organizations, taking up budgeting, they're taking on more responsibility. And if you're like at the CPO level, you're basically partnering with other departments and being like a voice or being like a thought leader in your space. Even from director level, you'll be expected to be a thought leader in your space. So this is kind of like the skills you need to consider. But what I have on the right in terms of the score skills needed at every level starts from like across every level, what you need to skills you need to be comfortable with. Let me just say for every product manager, irrespective of the level you are, is comfortable with technology and data, because a lot of your job will involve working with you're building software, you're building technology. So you don't have to be an engineer to code, but you should be comfortable enough understanding what software is about or how software is built from like a high level product manager. Again, the reason why I say that is because you're actually building software. Another thing is you need to be comfortable with data, at least to a certain. You need to be able to understand, if you understand how to create like OKRs, you need to understand how to create KPIs, you need to understand how to track metrics or track dashboards, just understand data, because those are things that you need to be able to do. And will be quite important at every level of your product management journey, because you need to be able to talk about how a product is successfully doing in the market. Another thing, like I mentioned before, was communication and collaboration. The core of your job is communication and collaboration, and depending on the level you're at as a product manager, the scale of that depends. As an associate product manager, which is an entry level role, the scale of how you need to communicate and collaborate is smaller. But as you go up the ladder, it becomes larger to you. You're trying to coordinate across like multiple departments, multiple like teams, or even like industries. So, but understanding that having good communication skills, having good collaboration skills are things that you need to be able to do as a product manager. Problem solving goes without saying. Product managers are problem solvers, because as a product manager, you're going to into the business, going to the market, going to understand the problem, and you're working with your team, engineers, designers, analysts, etc., to solve this problem. So somebody who likes solving problems is not going to do well in this role. You need to be a problem solver to do well as a product manager, because as a product manager, people are coming to you with problems. You need to be able to provide like think through how you solve them with the team that you have. The other two rules is like understanding your users, goes without saying. As a product manager, you are the voice of your user. Whenever the business is talking about these are the things we want to do as a business, we want to achieve XYZ goals. Your job is come there from the voice of the user to say, okay, this is what I've noticed with the users. This is where users are going. This is what users desire. All of conversation, but you can only understand users by actually speaking, listening, doing um, doing customer research in that case for you to have a better understanding of user. And then strategic thinking, which as I mentioned, is something that all managers at different levels need to be able to demonstrate. Um, and as you go up the ladder, it just becomes a bit more like the scope of that basically increases when you go up the ladder. I have run through what management is about on a high level. I've kind of touched on the job that you do as a product manager. I've also talked about some of the core skills that you need. Now I'm going to just talk about like different types of product manager alignments that exist in the market. Now, um, okay, sorry, Falabi, I'm going to mute you. Oh, please don't let me mute Falabi because the sound is coming through. Falabi, if you can hear me, can you mute yourself? The sound is really coming in through. Thank you very much. Right now, so types of product management alignment, and I called this I call this alignment because I've seen slides from discussion where people talk about like types of product manager, and the truth is, the type of product manager you are depends on the job you need to do. To be honest, product management is a growing field. It's a field that um, there is some industry accepted way of defining product management, but it's still largely left to how companies kind of define them. What I have here is kind of like common things you see in terms of what you do as a product manager, depending on the context that you're in or depending on your background. A lot of people that transition into product management tend to transition from other roles because when you think about the skills you need to be able to demonstrate and the things you need to do as a product manager, you tend to already need some kind of skill that makes you a valuable product manager in a certain aspect. So let me just go through the different alignments. I'll start with a technical product manager. A technical product manager is someone, as the name says, someone who is super technical. So if you used to be what they tend to focus on are really technical products or internal platforms, like so an API platform, data platform, depending on like how technical you were. A lot of people that come from backgrounds like being a software developer, but my example, when I transitioned into management, I transitioned into more technical product manager roles because I used to be a developer. So that was just a natural alignment for me in terms of going into the product management space. Um, but if you had like real technical roles like developer, QA, engineer, analyst, like all those really technical role, you tend to do well. This is not saying that you cannot transition into other roles, but I'm just saying like if you're looking like what is more common, kind of like the patterns you see in the markets, people who transition to take on more technical roles tend to come from technical background, and that's kind of just technical projects, technical product management alignment. UX product manager is another alignment where this role tends to just really focus on the user experience of products that are more common in products that are B2C, so business to consumer type products that have a lot of customer interactions. They tend to be roles, people that tend to transition into those roles have a background in design. So either they've been front-end designers in the past life, they've been product designers, user researchers, etc. They tend to, when they get into product management, this is where they tend to continue to focus as product managers. Another alignment is like the startup slash entrepreneurial product manager. So this one is really not like a type of product management. You're just talking about like the kind of responsibility or the things you find yourself doing as a product manager. When you work in a startup or you're building your own startup, you're kind of like involved in everything. So you're involved in development, design, business analysis, sales, whatever it looks like. If you have like strong entrepreneurial spirit, or you used to be a former founder before, you do very well in this type of roles that are where you're like the very first PM for a startup because you already have that experience going on for you. Another IMF for product management is like the growth product manager. This is where if you head of growth rules, where are trying to optimize things like how they continue to grow, customer retention, all of those growth metrics. They tend to be good for people who have strong marketing background or sales background because you tend to do well in this type of role. And then another alignment that I have here is like an enterprise manager. These tend to be people who have strong business background and have worked in like B2B businesses a lot, working with big companies. Now, I mentioned this different 5 alignments because the 6th one is function specific product manager. So it doesn't really matter. I'll say in terms of when you're thinking about transitioning, what you really need to consider is your core skills and your background, because that will kind of help guide what you can easily do as a product manager. Like the companies, if you look in the market today, the companies looking for either somebody who understands Internet of Things, how you know hardware communicates with internet, and if you have that kind of background, you do well working in maybe Philips, for example, or Amazon or something, just something where hardware communicates with internet. You do well in those kind of roles. If you have a machine learning background, there are AI slash ML managers that are popping up in the market today. If you have an e-commerce background, cloud, mobile hardware, etc. So those different alignment kind of shape the type of product manager you be. This is not to say the jobs. So the reason why they did this, they did different alignments is because there are different domains where product managers can exist. The job of product manager more or less remains the same. When you think about the job, and I'm going to go back to this, when you think about the job of a product manager as these three things: shaping, shipping, syncing, the alignment doesn't really matter, because whether you are a hardware product manager or a software product manager or a cloud product manager, whatever you're doing, you need to still figure out what the product will look like and getting the product to the hands of the user, and also making sure and facilitating communication all through. But these different types is just to give you an idea of what is out there, in terms of how, if you're thinking about transition, kind of how you could think about what transition could look like for you and where you might be able to get your best foot in the door. And now I'm coming to the last slide of my, or not the last slide, but the last bit of just talking about product management in general. Money, which is something that should make everybody hopefully interested in seeing. So this data I got from a website called Ola.com, the job board website that advertise different technology roles, products developer in the UK, and I just focused on the city of London. Again, something about salary is depending on the city that you're in. If you're finding a product manager role in London, the salaries tend to be higher just because the cost of living in London is higher. But you could also use London pay if you're in Aberdeen, for example, it's possible. I don't know what the cost of living is like in Scotland, but in general, this is what it looks like depending on the number of years of experience that you have. So if you're just starting in as a product manager in the UK, you tend to be looking at 30 to 45K as a starting salary. And as you go up, that just increases depending on the other salary. Basically, this is telling you that you can end up to 150K depending on your experience, and depends on the skill. But remember that the job, I guess what I say is that the more money you get as a product manager, the more the responsibility and the more the skill. So if you're looking at like being able to earn a whole lot of money as a product manager, I definitely would point you back to things you need to be thinking about and considering in terms of skill level, and where you need to be able to level up as a product manager for you to be able to earn more and more and like get higher in your craft, essentially. Because product manager, again, and I'm going back to this slide that talks about impact, is if at all you do not remember anything I've said on this call, remember that your job is to deliver business impact using the resources that your company has given you to be a successful product manager. Because the main thing you can say and go to any employer to talk about, oh, I'm a great product manager, or if you're trying to transition to say, oh, I used to be a customer service person, I want to become a product manager. The interviews be asking you, so what was the impact? So as a customer service person, you can talk about your impact in terms of solving customer queries, like in terms of reducing the number of queries that are being solved per week. That's a metric you'll be looking at, or shortening the time in terms that it takes to solve like customer problem. Or if you had a really difficult customer that was just giving you guys headache and rating you 1 star wherever you work, and how you got that customer to rate you from 1 star to 5 star, that's a huge impact. And you even talk about impact in terms of even revenue. Maybe you talked about, I don't know, the review product was so good, it drove business it drove that business into the organization. Those are impacts when you think about like what you currently do. If any of you are developers, you think about impact in terms of like you think about like time saved in terms of even like writing code, because it's not just writing code, but like what did your code end up doing for the business, reducing bugs, reduced even as a QA person, like bugs, how were you able to reduce that on a weekly basis or capture that before it went live? Thinking about like those kind of things, because what you need to be able to highlight really is the impact you're having in your role for you to be taken serious as a product manager. So I have talked through what product management in general. Before we get into ready to level up, I don't know if people have like questions just want to ask me about just in general, like the role before we talk about before we start telling you what product does and end the slide. But just questions about product management, what it's about, the skills, some of the questions you have about confusion about the role. I really love to hear questions at this point while I drink water. I don't want to believe that everything is so clear and everybody understands everything I've just said and nobody has questions. I mean, if you all understand, that's good, but I really would love to hear questions that you might have.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, Joy.
Hi, good evening. So, I have a question regarding the skills, the transferable skills you mentioned. Um, what's the best way to represent these skills? Like you said, like the example you used about having like a customer service experience and wanting to transfer um into like transfer into product management. So, what is the best way to represent transferable skills if you don't have like a proper product management training and like you just want to move into product management?
Yeah. May I ask what you currently do at the moment? Are you customer service? Um, you've gone on mute, Joy, if you're trying to respond to my question. You can also type it in if.
Okay. Okay, Penny, when she comes on, I think she use the example of a customer service.
Oh, yeah, I'll use that.
So,
yeah.
Yes, so can use that.
Yeah, no, because I was trying to ask her so I could be more specific for her in terms of thinking about transitioning. But if it's customer service, so you don't have formal product management training, and the truth is, most times people transition. Well, it depends. Yeah, it depends. So different people have different transition story. My transition story, I didn't have formal education in product management, but what I did have was the opportunity to do product management where I was on a small scale with like a manager that I pestered to give me the job. My transferable skills then were, so as a customer service, you are, in fact, you're dealing with customers. One transferable skill is understanding of users. As a customer service person, you need to, I believe, for you to do your job well, you need to understand the product to a certain level that you can solve user problem. You also need to, and you also be understanding like users complaints and resolving them and etc. Basically, everything about user understanding is in your wheelhouse. The product manager, you need the same skills. In fact, sometimes people encourage product managers. Um, Sometimes people ask product managers to spend time with customer service so they can understand the users a bit better. So your transition story, one of the transferable skills that you already have, already a customer service person, is understanding of users and being able to resolve that. I also want to believe that as a customer service person, you are managing things like time management is a given. Like actually, in every single role, things like being able to manage your time is a given transferable skill that you will be able to demonstrate anywhere and talk about it. Things like being more productive in terms of customer service requests, tickets that you'd have, or reducing that. Things that you want to be demonstrate that you're able to do well or reduce time, or even be more productive with your time and should as a product person. So some of those things you to highlight in your role. The key thing I can really just think about though is really about working with users, because that would be a key important thing. You can how you've made users' life 10 times better by being a customer service person that you can bring on to talk about trying to get a product manager role. So Debbie asked that she used an example with media marketing and communication experience as well. Good. Part of what you do as a product manager again is you are communicating. when it comes to interacting with users, or not even users, when it comes to like launching products, essentially you're doing communication. When I worked as an API product manager uh, about 2 years ago, one of the things I was looking after was kind of like peer releases and release notes and communicating all of that. So you can imagine that someone with like communication background or media background will be very good at coordinating product launches. You're always going to plan product launches with the marketing person. If you have a media background where you either are looking into advertising or how you release things, those are places where your skill will shine forth. In fact, as a media person, if you want advertising, they're one of the like they're product managers or they're ad tech companies that are looking for product managers in that domain. Ad tech is just advertising, technology and advertising. So if you're a media person and you're involved in like comms and all of that, you'd be a good fit for somebody or looking for somebody who has like advertising background or knows how to communicate and do good like product launches and product releases out there in the market. So you think of like the domain you're already coming from and what industries where it makes sense for you to apply your skills as a product manager in the industry. You probably just need to brush up on is if you've never worked with developers before, if you're not technical, just understanding basically how is software being built and just at a level how like when I talk about high level is how information comes in from like websites, what happens when people like look for, like uses the product on the website where it goes to database and like how that is stored somewhere is really high level. It's not like complicated. I'll just encourage you to be able to just have a high level overview. But in terms of a media person, you already have like solid background in terms of about managing other aspects of that deals with like launching and marketing products, etc., etc. Kenny, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you very much, Lade. I must say, like for this meeting, this is like my first time of actually, sitting down to actually hear about product management. I just, there's a way you just like assume that you know what it is by the word project management, product management. Like you just have an idea, you know. But at least, like I've been able to like hear firsthand what it is and what is expected to be done. And my question would be like practically, if I want to go into product management, for example, how do I like practically go about it? Do I need to like register for a course, or there is like I need to get a degree in product management, or there are courses that you can. I think that is where product drive will come in. I think I'm just my brain is just telling me that's where product drive will come in. Now, and then secondly, I would say the tools, but I think you will cover that. So I think I'm jumping the gun here. So I would just probably keep quiet and just wait for you to like get to that point, because I was going to talk about the skills that you would need. Like when I say skills, I'm referring to like the how do I put this? Like the apps you need to learn,
the tools you'll be using, right?
Thank you very much. It was tools I was looking for. So I think you still cover that towards the end of the thing. So I just yeah.
Yeah, yes. So this is where product dive will come in. Product dive will help you with like the foundational understanding of product management, and I'm also going to um share with you the links to the programs that we have, where you will actually talk a little bit more about that. But just to touch on that, so one, you're already doing by being here, you're already starting your journey in terms of transitioning. So understanding like I'll say I encourage you to join one of our product dive programs that will be tailored for you to kind of understand like the foundational understanding of what product management is about. The other thing I'll just say from a practical point of view is, are you currently working in a technology company? Just let me understand your situation. Are you currently working or are you studying at the moment?
No, I'm working for UW. So it's like a telecommunications, but they are basically like into utilities, energy. But I'm in the financial services team, so we kind of have a part where it's like it's a prepaid card. So we have product managers, we have assistant product managers. So I kind of like relate with them, but it's just meant more of when customers have issues and I'm just going back to them to say, oh, I think we can do this better. I think we can actually do this to resolve this complaints that we are always getting on this product. So, but I've never really just, sat down one time to just say, what do these guys really do? I just know that I try to probably give them feedback. So yeah, I work in that kind of space. I have an idea of them.
Yeah, and that's good. I'll say you're fortunate. So I would say product dive will help you with understanding what product managers do. The next thing I would then say for you is become friends with your product department beyond just giving them work or telling them user feedback. Like if there's somebody there you can identify, like either a manager in that space or colleague there, and just try to interact with them, liaise with them, because the easiest transition you can make as a product manager is internal. So if you're already working somewhere in a technology company somewhere, it's typically very easy to just transition to product management in that same space whenever that opens up. Because as somebody who, so in your case, what you have right now where you currently work at UW is trust. What I mean by trust is that people know you there, your colleagues know you, your manager knows you. They trust that you are, you're somebody you're responsible. You know how to do work. The only thing you need to show them is I can do product management work, and that where so if the hiring manager is trying to then hire between you and somebody, and you've already shown the hiring manager that I've been learning product management. I know what you're talking about, what the job is about. They'll most likely want to pick you because they already know you in the company and they don't have to train else. That's what happens within organizations. So it tends to be easier because it's harder if you don't have product management like understanding and you're trying to get it. It's two things that the hiring manager has to decide. A, I don't know you. B, I don't know if you can do the job. So in your case, you can easily knock at that. I already know you. I just need to figure out if you can do the job by doing product management trainings and getting to get to know the people a bit better. You make that transition easier for yourself. Just looking at the time. So let me see if I can answer some more questions before I run through the rest of the slide because it's mostly talking about what product dive does. But hopefully, Kenny, that helps answer your question.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
So,
please let's take Dan's question. Very important. Dan would like to know.
Okay, yeah. I'm just sorry. I'm just going to those who have their hands.
Right. Okay. Yeah, let's take some from the chat since we don't have so much time.
Yeah, no, but I just wanted to answer like those who have their hands up. Like Jeff typed the next person that has his hands up, unless he just dropped it now. Okay. I'll go with the chat. So Dan says, we're going to share a brief insight into your day-to-day activities to give our community an idea of what the routine is like. Okay, PM should know for interview purposes. Thanks again. Oh, basically, not 2 days the same for a product manager. A typical day today as a product manager is you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth. No, I'm kidding. You get to work, you log into work, and you try to. Well, depending on how I like to start your day, I like to start my day by understanding all the things I need to do. So I like to organize like my tasks, my to-do tasks. I have a personal to-do tasks, but I just like to say, these are all the things I need to do. But the typical process would be I get up, I kind of figure out all the tasks I need to do, then I get into like a team stand-up. So we get into like Scrum ceremonies, because if you work in a team that practices Scrum, you have a daily stand-up with your team. That daily stand-up is mostly just to understand where things are at in terms of work that needs to be done. So you're syncing with dev team, syncing with like designers, everybody just giving the status updates of where things are at. It's mostly for you to understand if there are any blockers for you to help unblock as a product manager. If there's some tracing up you need to do with like a stakeholder who is maybe blocking work being done. So that's one aspect. Then depending on what the week looks like, sometimes you could have like an alignment meeting with a business stakeholder. So maybe you're trying to prepare for a launch, or you're trying to capture a new market. You're then speaking with like a business stakeholder. A business stakeholder could be somebody in sales, maybe a sales development person who tries to develop a business to capture a new segment. So you're probably having a sync with that person to understand, what do you need from technology? What do you need the product to do? What are you trying to achieve, and really trying to understand that. That could end up with you creating a product requirement document, running workshops, depending on what you need to actually do for that day. Then part of your day again will be looking at dashboard metrics. How's the product currently doing in the markets? What's going on? Are users, are like features being used? Are you growing? Like you may have like OKR somewhere where you need to certain key results, and so you're trying to trace your key results. Are we achieving this? Are we achieving that? Are we achieving this? Are we achieving that? Your job is always going to bounce from discovery to delivery. So by discovery is what needs to happen to the product. Delivery is how soon are we going to get some of this out of the window, and there are different activities within those two spaces that you'll be bouncing between back and forth. So that's why I say like your day is never really the same, but your main job is you're really bouncing between, okay, what are the things that we need to figure out for the product and add to the backlog, and then what are the things in the backlog that need to be delivered. Either you're going to be creating like a status report for like the senior execs in your team who'll be asking you questions to say, hey, this report you've created, why are we dropping here, or why is this thing not happening, or blah blah blah. Or you'll be planning demos, like product demos, for the internet to say that, oh, we've just released this new feature, this is how it works. Sometimes you might need to also train if it's an internal product that requires people to be trained up internally. So it really depends. But like I tell you for free, that your day will be full of meetings. And one thing you need to be able to fight as a product manager is time to do your own work, like fight for your own time. Like when I talk about like knowing how to manage your time is not a skill that should be overlooked, because a lot of people want to get your time because you're the expert of that particular product. So people want to like ask you, give you work, try and get you to do things for them. But you need to be able to fight for your own time. Is it time I need to actually think and be strategic about what I'm trying to do and like deliver good work? If not, like you're kind of some too many meetings. So hopefully, Dan, that kind of helps you in terms of what day-to-day looks like. And just very quickly, key aspects a PM should know for interview purposes. For interview purposes, I will go back to in every role you've done. Try, if you've not done this before, in your current role, try and highlight the impact you've made in the role that you currently do or in the past, because that's what your interview, aside from interviewer asking you maybe situational questions and asking you like, how do you perform in certain situations, they will always want to understand the impacts you've done in previous roles. So if you've not done this exercise before, just go back to your CV, look at your roles where if you've listed the responsibilities of your role, try and understand like what are the things I've achieved in this role. So I'll use customer example as an example. Like if I was a customer service person somewhere, trying to understand, did I how did I like reduce customers' complaint in terms of impact? How did I help get customers to leave 5-star reviews in terms of impact? How did I reduce complaints on a week-to-week basis? That's just like random example anyways. I think Jan is upside. I can move on the slide. Am I correct?
Yes, I was going to ask, thank you so much, Ladi, for the session so far. I was going to ask you if this is like, if we're using Google Business, where are we able to extend the time, or like this meeting is ending in 4 minutes? So we know how to better allocate the next few conversations.
Yeah, I think we can. I just set it up on my startup grant stuff, so I think we can continue.
Okay.
I'm going to move on to the slide because it's but hopefully Dan, that helps answer the question. You know what? This is the best way for me to then get into what Product Dive can do for you. So all of those questions that you guys have, we have a new we have coming cohorts. We have 2 major programs in Product Dive. One is transitioning to product management or pivot to product management, which is ideal for people trying to transition. So if you fall into this category, I would say scan the QR code so that you take it to the website and you can then see all of the things, all the information about this particular program. Because then it would really talk about like how you can easily transition into product management. So some of the questions you have about what product manager does, some of the tools that you get familiar with, etc. It's like we will talk about it a lot. I'm going to share this slide anyway, so if you can scan the QR code, now you can always scan it when you get the slide. I think it's in you have access to the slide, so you can just share afterwards, I believe.
Okay. Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you. So this is for now, and I'll encourage us to to take advantage of this particular program before it starts by May 27. Join the next cohort start, trying to bring it to product management. There's installment payment. And if you pay £258 a day, you can secure your seats and get brought into the world of product management. If you're on this call and you have a bit more experience and you're not just trying to start from scratch, you can consider the product management blueprints. I don't know if anybody's already a practicing product manager or product owner or like some product type role in here. But if you are, this is the program that is mostly meant for you to then be able to thrive as a product manager in your space. There's a cohort starting June 29th. There's even more time for you to be able to pay for this particular cohort. This one is long. This one, the timing is longer because there are 2 sessions morning and afternoon to get like really dig into it. Although it's 6 Saturdays, the previous one is longer, like 9 to 10 weeks for 2 hours of your Saturday. This is shorter, but has more time in this the Saturdays, like morning and afternoon sessions. Again, scan the QR code so that you can see more information about the the product manager blueprint. And if you're interested in it, you can still see just like £264. How to pay is on the QR code. So yeah, I'll say scan the QR code. The last thing I have for us here is if you can come down to London, ProgDive is doing a second conference. I don't know if any of you were available for the very first conference, but we have a second conference happening by June 8th, which Etima is leading. And Etima, I'll let you talk more about the conference so that you can just do that. This one is free. There's no money to pay to be part of this conference, but I encourage you to come and register to be part of this conference. It's in person, although there is an option for you to stream online, but you still need to register for the conference anyways. Thing is like here you can learn to hear from other people talking about product management. You get to hear people's transition stories. You get to understand the world of product management a bit more. And I really encourage you to, if you found this conversation interesting and feel like actually, wow, my ears have been piqued. I'm interested in what product management is about. I think this is something that I might be interested in. I encourage you to come for the conference. It's free. At least this one, you don't have to pay anything to be a part of this. So you can learn more about product management and other things that ProgDive is doing. So Etima, I hope I've done justice to the conference.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. And also to add I know someone had a question about interview. There's going to be a live section, like there's going to be like a case scenario where someone is being interviewed real time. So you can see how the product management interview process will usually be. Now, for people that are coming from other industries, so someone asked about customer service, what transferable skills can I bring on? Someone might be coming from the health aspect, someone might be a business analyst, someone might be a fintech. We would be having different workshops during this conference that is tailored towards specific industry needs. What do I mean? So if you're interested in the e-commerce aspect, let's say you've been involved in buying and selling, or you have maybe like experience in the fashion aspect. I'm sure we have women on this call. You're familiar with ASOS, you like to work as a product manager for ASOS, there's industry specific. Or if you're working with Tesco or any of the likes, all of these are products as well. So that's e-commerce. There'll be a workshop section that gives you an idea into the day-to-day.
No, I don't need them.
Okay, Debbie, sorry, I might have to mute your mom. Sorry, I have to mute Debbie's mic. Okay, good. All right. Yes, so I was saying there are going to be industry-specific workshops. There will also be a section for people that would like to refine their CVs. Yes, there'll be a section for that. There will also be a section where you get to meet UK recruiters. You also get to meet industry leaders in product management where you can have one-on-one conversations. There's a section tailored towards transition stories. So here's someone, for example, that is coming from a HR background and how that person navigated or transferred some of their current skills into becoming a product manager. Um, I don't know, maybe on this call, if I'm sure there are people that maybe are in product management for the first time. So it might be a little bit, whatever we've said today, right on this call, might be a little bit, just a notch, maybe a little bit, maybe advanced for you. But what I can say is, regardless of whatever field you're coming from, whether it's customer service, whether it's media, whether it's fintech, you definitely, if you had looked at the skills that Lade had displayed, you have a transferable skill. So if you're a customer person, problem solving, communication, time management, pro- in terms of even managing the customers, right? You're dealing with customers day to day. Who are the users of the products? The customers. Who are those that have to engage with the customers, right? So regardless of whatever field you're coming from, definitely you have a transferable skill. So this conference has been tailored made for aspiring product managers like yourself, where you'll be hearing different industry leaders speak to certain areas that you have in mind. Why I would advise you of there physically is because for the sections that has to do with CV, refining CVs, the section that has to do with giving you hands-on experience into what a product manager's day-to-day is like, those sections will not be streamed, right? Like the breakout room sections will not be streamed. So it's just the main conference itself. The live interview, yes, you would see that on the stream, but it's advisable that if you also want to be able to even watch from the comfort of your home, you need to register. So it's a free event, but registration is required to secure your spot. Right. So definitely this is something you do not want to miss. Of course, there's always food and drinks, lots of food and drinks, free food and drinks. But most importantly, belonging to a community. In any career you're looking at transitioning into, especially in tech,